You will know.
Okay.
And we're going to see if Stephanie thinks that they wrote the autobiography themselves or if you think they had a ghostwriter.
Okay.
Okay, everybody ready? Okay. Nelson Mandela.
He wrote it himself.
Yes, he did.
Yay!
Yay.
One for
Okay.
one.
Anne Frank.
Ghostwriter.
Nope. She wrote it herself, and she wrote it in Deutsch. Yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
It wasn't originally written in English. All right. Benjamin Franklin.
Someone else. He had a ghostwriter. No.
Benjamin Franklin was a prolific writer.
Wow.
He wrote a lot. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Andre Agassi.
I do not know who that is.
He's an athlete.
Okay. So he had a ghostwriter. No offense to the athletes.
Oh my gosh, you just said that all athletes seek ghostwriters. That is not true.
But if you need one.
Yes. Okay. Adolf Hitler.
Ghostwriter. No, he wrote it himself.
He wrote it himself. They thought for a long time he had a ghostwriter, but it was proven recently that he did not. He did it himself.
Okay.
So, all right. She's doing pretty good. Mark Twain.
I think you're giving me more of those that did it themselves than ghostwriters. So that's why I'm adamant about saying that. I'm not sure. I'm going to say he wrote it himself.
He did. He did. Frederick Douglass.
Ghostwriter. No, he was a good writer.
He was a good writer.
Yeah, so he wrote it himself.
Right. Steve Martin.
Ghostwriter.
No.
So these are really tricky.
Steve Martin was actually a playwright. Is actually a playwright. I mean, he's still alive. And he's really funny. All right, ready? Dave Pelzer. Do you know who that is?
I do not know who that is.
He wrote a book called A Child Called It.
You know what? I do know him.
Yeah.
He has 3. There's 3 of them that go along with that, and all are really good.
Oh my gosh, that book rocked and upset my world.
Yes.
So did he write it or did he have a ghostwriter? Because that book is basically his autobiography.
Yeah. I want to say that he wrote it.
He did. Okay, we're going to go back in time again. Winston Churchill.
He wrote his.
Yes. Winston Churchill wrote his. Ready? Michelle Obama.
I want to say she did write hers because she's a very educated woman. But you're looking at me like that's not the answer. She did. I want to say she did. It's
reported that she had some help.
Okay.
By a ghostwriter.
Okay.
Julia Child.
She wrote hers.
Yes, she did. Okay. In fact, so little piece of interesting research that I found out. Julia Child always said that she couldn't cook and she couldn't write. And so now she's known as a famous cook, a famous chef, and she's written all of her own cookbooks.
Wow.
Okay. Wow. And here's the last one.
Okay.
Marilyn Manson.
Please say ghost.
I mean, this is like a hodgepodge. Total.
Yeah. Ghostwriter.
Ghostwriter.
Woohoo! Yay! I got more wrong than I did right, but that's okay. I learned.
I told you it was a surprise. I did. I totally threw her under the bus with that. Okay. But I did that because you never know who's actually going to write their own story. Now, there's actually 2 words for an autobiography. What are they?
The autobiography and then a memoir.
A memoir. And what's the difference?
The difference, and she just shared this right before we got on.
I prepped her.
Is autobiography is more about facts as opposed to being a memoir, which is more personable and more emotional and sharing a little bit more secrets.
It's totally and completely about how the author feels, everything, all the details of their life from their vision, from their perspective, with their emotions supporting that. It's really not about just facts. So it can be maybe a little biased. So that's okay. All right. So, and I'm sure that everyone watching knows the difference, but just in case you don't, a biography is the story of someone's life that's written by another party, another writer. But an autobiography is written by the writer. And of course, as we talked about, some people hire a ghostwriter to help them with that because they want to tell their own story. They want to use their own words. They want to have their own perspective shared, but they want to make sure that it's done well. So they hire ghostwriters like us.
Right. Yes.
We like to give ourselves kudos. If you haven't noticed.
The book therapists.
Yeah, the book therapists are therapizing themselves. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the purpose of an autobiography.
Okay.
So one of the purposes is entertainment. So maybe, like, can you think of somebody that you'd want to read their autobiography for entertainment? Just to that's a really awesome person.
Not off the top of my head.
Jesus doesn't count.
Right. Okay. So I'm thinking of even the Steve Martin. I do know that he is funny, but however, just someone that I guess I would say like Priscilla Shire would be somebody I would love to. I would love to read her if she wrote an autobiography.
Just for entertainment, not necessarily for spiritual growth. That's what I'm saying. This is entertainment.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if that woman is capable of writing an autobiography without growing us and stretching us spiritually, but maybe it could happen.
Yeah.
Okay, but there are those instances, right, where they're done for entertainment. But then there's also, so let's talk about Priscilla Shire for a minute, because that would be a great example. So there are sometimes when people write books to encourage,
yes,
maybe they've been in a really bad place and they want to encourage other people. They want to show that you can overcome really difficult circumstances or tragedies in your life. And Dave Pelzer's A Child Called It would be a really great example of that, right? Okay. So you also can write an autobiography for the purpose of establishing credibility. Can you think of one?
I know some of our authors have done that, but just off of the top of my head, I cannot put a name on someone right now. But I do know just a memoir that comes to mind for me that was one of my favorites would be Kim Gagne's. That is one of our authors.
Yeah. Okay. So, sometimes when you're establishing credibility, it actually means that you want to defend a lifestyle or defend a passion. So somebody historical that may come to mind is Mahatma Gandhi. His autobiography wouldn't have just been about being a world influencer, but why he chose to live the way that he lived.
Right.
And so through his writings, we learned more about why he chose to live the way he did. So that would be an example of writing an autobiography for the purpose of that. Okay, so let's talk about the process.
Because fun stuff.
Yeah. So we're going to get down and we're going to talk about the therapy of this. So when you are writing your autobiography as editors, one of the things that we have the greatest issue with is we love to read people's stories and we love to read, about their life and the things they've overcome. I'm not doing very well today. Okay, but the thing that really can jumble it all up and get it really mixed up and make it really hard, not only for us as editors, but for the reader, is a lack of timeline.
Yes.
So what happens?
Well, I would really go back to creating that outline. She said the O word. Yes. If you want to share your story, it's great, but you need to take notes of the events and when they took place, and kind of, decide if you're going to go in chronological order and what that will look like for you. If not, we're going to be asking a whole lot of questions, and that editorial assessment is going to be
right. Yeah, in fact, I would even push it a step further, guys. If you're ready to write an autobiography, and let's say it's necessary to start in your childhood and then move on into adulthood, I would write that timeline out. Like, really, you remember those timelines from like geography or something like that, in school, and they literally had line, and you needed to put the years by them, year, or something like that. Go through and create your own personal timeline. Yes. Because what happens so often is, I won this basketball award in 1986. Well, then at the final edit, they're like, that didn't happen in 1986. That happened in 1989. So if you go through your life, and you just list all the things that really matter in your story, and you chronicle them from the beginning to the present, and then and it can be the time, like, I lost my first tooth, to I lost my first purse, to I lost other things. We won't even talk about that. But the truth of the matter is, it's really salient. It really helps. It's going to help you as a writer. It's going to help the organization of the book. It's probably the most valuable tool in the whole book writing process when you're writing a biography or an autobiography. When you say,
yes,
it truly, it's worth it to sit down in the very beginning and just commit that to paper. And it's probably going to take more than one sheet of paper.
Right. Yes.
How long do you think your timeline would be?
I have no idea,
like,
but just even thinking about it, that would be just a good idea just to see, because it also shows the transformation and the growth that has taken place in the events. You're able to go back and see what you have accomplished and overcome. So I think that,
and that's not to be confused with an outline. I know we preach outline all the time, but a timeline is a series of events in chronological order.
Yes.
An outline is the organization of your book, and they are two very different things. Okay. You have to do the timeline before you do the outline.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And so then what comes after the timeline?
After the timeline would be the writing. I mean, that's when you would start writing. Yeah. You get the timeline, the outline, and then you begin writing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then after that, an in-depth outline sometimes helps you when you have lots of details. If you're writing a true autobiography, I would really encourage not just an outline, but like, get ugly with it, like use paper, like tear down a tree kind of thing. Really outline in detail, because if we get emails from people who want to save the trees, I love trees. I just want you to know it's just a joke. So, but the truth of the matter is, the more detail you put into that outline, the easier your book is going to flow. We get really, so this is what happens. This is the therapy part.
Okay.
Writers jump ahead.
They do.
I'm going to say it again. Writers jump ahead like a leapfrog. Okay. You don't want to do the outline. You think it's a waste of time. You have it in here and you think, oh, I don't need to structure my mind because my story's up there. It's already structured. Live structured my story. And I'm just going to start writing. And it doesn't work that way, because when you write, especially your own story, there's emotion involved.
There is.
Yeah. And you get lost in the emotion, and all of a sudden your organization goes out the window. And so when you have that outline, you're constantly checking back and you're double checking yourself. Did you ever have to do a proof in algebra?
Yes, but I don't want to go back to the algebra moment.
She doesn't want to talk about math.
Numbers,
She's like, I have graduated from that. I read, I write. Do not talk about math. I'm going to get fussed at later. You brought up math again. Okay. So, but the truth of the matter is it's a proof. So you set up your outline and you you go through and you use the timeline. So number 1, use the timeline.
Yes.
Number 2, use the timeline to develop the outline.
Yes.
And number 3, make the outline really detailed. And number 4, write from the outline. Don't defer, don't deter, don't go visit your grandma. Stay with the outline. Do what the outline, it's you telling you what to do. If you feel that you need to add something, add it to the outline. Don't add it to your story before you add it to the outline. Okay? So those are really the 4 basic steps for an autobiography.
Let me.
Oh, I know she got something to say. She's going to try to show me up.
No, I would never.
Because I surprised her.
Yes, yeah, that's what it is. No, I want to talk about a few things when it comes to an autobiography, but it's more so the ends of what not to do. So Charlie, you kind of touched on what to do and how to get that done, and I want to touch base on what not to do. First of all, you do not want to write without a theme. You want to have a theme throughout your autobiography. So whether that's perseverance, whether that's overcoming domestic violence, whatever that looks like for you in the biggest and the pivotal moments of your life, you want to keep that theme going throughout your autobiography. That's 1. Number 2, do not write an autobiography for revenge. Let me say that again. Do not write an autobiography for revenge. You want to make sure that you are keeping it from your perspective and you are not demeaning or ridiculing anyone that is in the book. Because guess what? The names are not as important as what you have learned throughout your experiences. So get rid of the names.
Well,
or come up with
pseudonym.
Come up with another name, because guess what, if that person that you experience that with, if they read that, guess what, they're 9 times out of 10 they're going to know it's them, and the people that know you are going to know it's them. But the emphasis needs to be on how you were able to overcome that or persevere through that, as opposed to talking about how Johnny broke your heart in 3rd grade, and then Timmy broke your heart, and then John broke your heart. Like all of that, those relationships are not as important as what you have been able to learn from those relationships. Wow. So do not write for revenge. And make sure that you carry a theme throughout. Those are like the biggest 2 things that I definitely want to emphasize on, because we have had multiple authors come in, and it's not to put a name on it, but they have, experienced traumatic experiences.
And they were legitimate.
Mm-hmm. And we care about that. And we've been able to walk authors through that, but to also let them know to not bash. We do not have to bring up former relationships. We do not have to bring up if you didn't have a good relationship with your parents. You don't have to emphasize that the relationship wasn't good, but you can emphasize on how you can improve from maybe not having such a great relationship. So it's really focusing on the positive, as opposed to making sure that you let it be known that so-and-so hurt you and all of this. So I just really want to emphasize that. And with that last parting piece of advice, you know what? My train of thought just left me.
What I was just thinking was, a bitter book is not a selling book.
No, it's not. It's definitely
a bitter
not.
book is not a selling book. So no. Stephanie's right. That is such a great point. I'm really glad you brought that up. Yeah. That's such a great point. If you can't write your book from your heart, your growth, and what you learned, and leave the rest behind, you're probably not ready to write it.
That's so true.
That's the truth of it. Yeah.
And what I will tell, and the thought came back to me, the biggest piece is, and what I tell all of our authors that are going in even if they do self-help / autobiography, they're sharing pieces of their story along with a self-help book, is if you own your truth, nobody can use it against you.
That's right.
And so owning that and being true to you, and knowing at the end of the day, when you put the pen down, when you stop typing, that this book is something that you're going to leave as a legacy, and you can share it with everyone and anyone in your life, because it's not going to offend or hurt anyone.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. We all have things that we would love to put down on paper. That's for your personal journaling.
Right. Yeah.
That's for
or therapy session.
Yeah. But if you really need to talk to us about that, you can call us and self-publish. We'll do our best, but we're probably going to tell you get past it and then write your book. But the truth of the matter is that's so good, because those stories, look, we've all got those moments and those stories are really valuable. But at the end of the day, it's only valuable if you've learned and you've grown from it.
Yes.
It's not valuable if you're just passing around bitter like it's, a cheese cracker.
Right.
So, all right.
Well,
do you have any? I know.
One more thing. Just one more. Make sure when you are getting, even it goes back to the outline component. When you're getting
the O word again.
When you are sharing your story, now you may have won the award in second grade for playing softball or baseball, and that's great. But make sure that it has relevance to your autobiography. We love details. We want to know who you are.
We want to know that you got that trophy.
We're so excited. But if it does not bring relevance to what the chapter is trying to convey, leave it out. And it doesn't matter to us.
And once you've said it once, you don't have to tell us again.
And it doesn't matter if May 2nd, 2002 was a Tuesday. That's not important. Though
if it's relevant to the story,
relevant to the story, like Taco Tuesday,
right? Yeah. But if it's just because it was a day that ended in Y, you don't have to put it in your story.
Yeah. So make sure you include details that are relevant, that line up with the autobiography.
And really, Stephanie, it goes back to what you said. It's all about your purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it goes back to, why are you writing the autobiography, and what is it that you want to share? And you can call it a memoir if you want, that's totally okay. But again, just know that you've got to start with your why in your mind. Why am I doing this? Why am I going through the effort? And like Stephanie said, it can't be to bash someone else or even a group of people.
Right.
So
one more thing.
Okay, she said one more like 4 times.
So
1 plus 1 plus 1 is 4, right?
Yeah.
I did the math thing again. Go ahead.
No, so with that being said, I will say some things that we have come up with, authors that are going that autobiography route. There are going to be hurdles that you have to overcome within yourself to write through that. And that's what I suggest doing, even if you are writing through it because you are still healing from it. Go ahead and do that, because you do have some awesome editors that can kind of say, hey, this is great, but we don't need to include that. However, it is therapeutic for you to write through it, to get it out, and then being able to share it with someone else that's going to give you a different perspective. So I want you to know that, it really does happen. We've had so many people delay the process just because they realized that they hadn't healed in some certain areas. However, from committing to the process of writing that, they are healing, and then they are going to help others heal through things that they went through. So, and Charlie did say, kind of stop. You don't have to, you don't have to make it to where it's something, daunting, but you do want to share some things. And then you have us too. When we get ready to go through the editorial assessment, we're going to kind of and ask some of those questions. And I know I've had several conversations with people that I've asked them questions, and I'll say, hey, this is off the record. Like, I'm not going to include this in the book, but can you share why you did this, or what happened here to make you do these things? And it was, people were able to come back and say, hey, I didn't realize that I hadn't healed from that. Because a lot of times, as you're going through the autobiography and you're peeling back those layers, you don't realize what you went through and how much it impacted you.
Right. And a little tip, if you're getting to that really emotional place where it's hard for you to write, because writing is already daunting for some, and that may not be your strongest skill. And so it's daunting to go through this emotional part, and then it's double daunting because you're writing it as well. If writing it is hard for you, record yourself. Like, go to your table of contents, which is basically your outline. Okay. So go to your outline and say, I'm talking about what happened in junior high. And then you just start recording yourself and record what happened in junior high. Maybe tell a close confidant, a personal friend, a family member, say, I need to talk out this chapter, and record yourself talking out that chapter.
That's good.
Then all you have to do is go back and listen to yourself and write what you said.
That's good.
And that takes a lot of the double daunting. It takes that out. And then you're able to go through and you're able to get it into the computer without just slicing and dicing yourself over the process and the memory at the same time.
That's good. That's good. Awesome.
That was done?
Really that I'm for real. Like sure? I'm through. No more one more thing. No more. I promise.
Y'all just want to sit here a minute and see if she's telling the truth.
I promise.
This is what I get for surprising her. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. You know that if you're ready to write your story, if you want to write an autobiography or a memoir, we here at Self Publish in 30 Days are ready to help that happen. We believe in your story and we believe in the power of it, and we want to make it rock the bookshelves. Yes. All right? Yes. I'm Dr. Charlie, the Book Mama.
And I'm Stephanie Palmer, the Grammar Queen.
And we are your book therapists.
Yes.